Welcome to Speakeasy. I'm Hayley.
And I'm Jenny.
And Happy New Year.
Feliz Año Nuevo.
Love it. So, we're back. Let's crack back on with the last time it was our Christmas episode, which was chaos.
Yeah, I think we were a bit delirious when filming that one.
But so we're going to go back to business now, as we all are with the new year, is back to normalcy. And today we're going to talk about research and approaching research when you're doing maybe an editorial process towards your event program. So this is the bread and butter of our role, isn't it? I'd say it's really what puts conference producers, it makes us stand out in comparison to other event managers, is we really take that editorial and analytical approach to content, what's happening in an industry, and how we translate that into live, on stage, or even virtual. Virtual is still a thing. Yeah. And how we put the brand out there. So we both have different approaches to research. I think I kind of work in lots of various industries, but you are a sustainability expert.
I love when people say that. I'm like, am I? I get a little bit of imposter syndrome. But yeah, I have been mainly in the sustainability space for, 5 years, I guess now, 5, 6. In the new year, I guess 6. And it is different because, like, for example, I don't really need that much desktop research because it's just kind of naturally happening. Like, my LinkedIn network is constantly just full of kind of stuff that's happening in the sustainability space. So it's like I'm always a bit aware of what's going on. So I would say that aspect, I don't need it as much. But now that I've gone freelance, it's been interesting because I've done a few like non-sustainability events. And with that one, I definitely felt like I had to do more desktop research beforehand just to kind of feel that when I'm going into those calls, I'm not coming in like fully not knowing anything, but I have a little bit of a background and context to the discussions I'm about to have. I
think it's interesting though, because obviously a lot of what we do, and when we're going further into that process and looking at speaker recruitment, the more knowledge that we have, the better relationships I think we build with potential speakers, and those more high profile speakers as well, where we want to have them join us. And there's that, I'd say, validity that we know our stuff and this event is going to be good. So when we can have a conversation with them about key themes in the industry and do that eloquently, I think it solidifies that relationship a little bit.
No, I agree. And actually, like, another thing on the freelancing that I did is like I went into a project recently that it was like the agenda was basically written by them, and like they were an association, so they've got all the knowledge, and I was just more in charge of like the speaker recruitment and just kind of moving things along. And I did feel like I had really missed not having the research phase, because then I was going into these calls trying to recruit the speakers, and when they were trying to tell me, how do you think I'd fit into the session, like what's my angle, I felt very much like I didn't have those answers. I was winging a lot of things. But so that made me realize how much I do actually value just being able to do the full production cycle. And how a crucial part of it is that initial research phase.
No, exactly. So we're starting a new production process. I've actually recently just started one, and it's been a while actually for me. I've done a lot more of, I would say, speaker recruitment or prep, and then a lot of on-site delivery over the last 6 months. So going back to roots and like doing a full production process is so nice. Like, I've really enjoyed just jumping into the research. How do you start normally? And I mean, what way do we want to do this as do we want to do this as like a sustainability, like your stuff going in as like an expert producer, or if you were approaching which way do you want to talk about it?
I'll talk about it as like someone who's already got a bit of experience, because I think a lot of people who are listening to us as well have probably been in their sectors, have been doing those events for a while. So I can come in with that kind of perspective, and then you can probably come in with kind of someone who's freelancing and doing a bit of everything. Because we've talked about this before, but like in our industry, you do change jobs a lot. So it is very normal for producers to be coming into new sectors as well every couple of years.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. So, well, from my perspective, going into a new one, especially the one that I'm doing at the moment, is in an industry that I've never done, and it's around creator marketing, which is really exciting because, first of all, I am chronically online and I love, I've got definitely profiles that I follow that make lots of great content or skits or, different kind of online communities and stuff. And we've all got, those profiles that we follow. So it's really interesting kind of going into this from the brand perspective. How are they working with creators? How do they stay on top of industry trend, or not industry, social media trends and things like that? But then also what's happening in that in maybe like a policy or regulation perspective. So I first desktop research, trying to understand what are the key themes at the moment. We look at competitor events, understand what's on their agendas, and then start with that LinkedIn outreach, I would say. If you don't have data as well, this event is a launch event as well. Previously having success in another country, but now working in the UK. So really building out data from scratch and starting to make those connections, which I think is always really hard. How do you convince people to speak to you? There's a personal kind of thing they have to do in like that LinkedIn connection of what hook are you going to use? So this is a really random tip because I've been following a lot more on social media content and how to grow online content for like stuff like marketing this podcast, or my own professional profile. And so the concept of like hooks in social media, I've taken that into like my LinkedIn connection requests.
Okay.
So rather than just going like, "Hi Jenny, I'm working on an event. I'm working on an event for conference producers. I would love to get your thoughts on the agenda. Can we book a call?" It's not going to be enough to book, is it?
Yeah.
It's not. So kind of thinking more about like maybe taking something that you're really interested in and go, "I'm working on an event focusing on event content for sustainability. I saw your post on da-da-da-da. I would love to get I'd love to get you involved."
Yeah.
And just making it a lot shorter. That was a really bad version off the cuff of what I was going to say. But find something about that person that's going to reel them in. And I found it's worked a lot better. It's not going to get every time. I find that the outreach for research, and it's the same as speaker recruitment, is really difficult because you've got to convince somebody for their time.
Yeah.
And they don't know you.
Yeah.
So, do you have any tricks for getting calls?
Yeah, I don't know. It is a tricky one. I do think more and more people are just, if they're friendly with the brand, it is easier to get than if you're coming in completely like new to them.
Well, actually, that's what you meant, the brand hook, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it's established.
If it's established, it just makes your life easier. So I guess referring back to all I want for Christmas is just to work for brands that are well established. Because it does make your life way easier as a producer. I guess how I go about the start of my research, it just depends. So I'm saying like in sustainability. So if it's the fact that I've been working on this event for a while, I kind of know it, I understand the event, is going back into all the submissions and the surveys that were sent after the last event. So again, just not going in with the assumption of like, it went great, because you do get that post-event buzz. You think our event was great, but actually reading it constructively and also with a mind that I'm not taking offense to anything that was saying, because sometimes when you read surveys just after an event, if anyone has any negative comments, I'm immediately like
It hurts the heart.
yeah, I get a bit like annoyed and I'm not processing what that person, like the constructive feedback. So with time, I think you can really look into that. And I think as well, as someone who's worked in, for example, sustainability for a while, I do have my friendlies.
Yeah.
And it's basically having to convince myself of like, let's not go for the same people, because if not, all I'm going to get are the same feedback, the same opinions that they told me the year before. And just being like, okay, they're good to make sure I'm getting like a few calls in. They're good to like, establish those relationships again, because you're touching point with them. But making sure I'm trying to find new people to talk to. And whether that's actually sometimes the easiest point is going through the delegate list.
Yeah.
So who came to my event that I have not, really interacted with before, but whose profile is actually interesting. So maybe I should be reaching out, because they could be potential good speakers as well down the line. So broaden it, that I'm not always talking to the same people.
Yeah.
because it's very easy. You already know. You end up establishing relationships with people that you're like, okay, I need to make 10 research calls. Well, I know exactly the 10 people who are going to say yes to me.
I mean, so when you're booking in those calls, quick one, which is just around how we book those calls in, because I know we've talked about when it comes to like prep and trying to get everyone's calendars organised is a nightmare. Do you do that all over email? Do you use like Calendly or anything like that? Or
I don't know if it makes me old school, but I mainly do it email. I find when it's Calendly, it's just... Also, I feel like I've had it before where people have said like, yeah, here's my Calendly, send it. And then it's like they have no availability for 2 months or whatever it is. You know, sometimes whereas if an email, you can be like, I really need it to be this week because like, you know, we're in this stage of the process, like any chance 20 minutes will be enough.
Yeah.
You know, like you can discuss it a bit more where then eventually they'll be like, oh yeah, okay, fine, sure.
I think because I've always had that recommendation come up like, oh, just set up a Calendly, like it'll make your life easier. The only thing I have with that is it always just leaves the ball in their court to get it organised. And like, because you don't want to follow up and go, can you check my Calendly link? And like, let's get it all booked in. Whereas if you're doing it as a discussion, it does make more work, but you're in control of making sure that that goes ahead rather than just going, here's my link.
I think it's what you just said. It was interesting you used the word control because I think that is kind of crucial to us in a way because we are so out of control in so many things really because we're dealing with people. So a lot of times it's like the control really is in their hand.
Yeah, with everything.
With everything that we're doing. So those small gaps where I feel I could actually like take control of the situation is really important to do it because if not, you're not going to get anywhere.
I was just thinking like what are maybe some of the downfalls that people might take why they're not getting calls booked in. Somebody has agreed to it. And that could be one where you are just giving up, you know, your kind of grasp on the situation. You're going, okay, just click this link.
Yeah.
And lots of people might not do that. It's just one of those things, isn't it? Rather than just go, what's your availability? And we will hopefully move our calendar around to make it work. If like, let's say there's an internal meeting or something and you need to do a call with the head of sustainability at whatever big organisation. You said to your team, I've got a call with this person. They're a pretty key influential. They go, yeah, don't come to our meeting. We'll rearrange.
Yeah.
Whereas, so let's talk about questions that we ask on the call. Do you have like a normal set of questions that you ask, or because it's now established, you can just go into that conversation and deep dive with your people?
I mean, now I'm like, should I say the true answer or like what the professional answer should be? I mean, in being in all honesty, like I think because I've been doing this for many years, I do think I've just learned the skill of being like, I've got a call in 5 minutes. I'm going to go in and like naturally see how the call takes, like where it takes me. Because I find when also just it's down to my type of personality. So I found when I worked in places where it was very like, this is your script and these are the questions you need to ask and all of this. I found I really struggled to connect to the person when I was interacting with them. Like, it's almost like I had to be this persona where I was very more like rigid and cold and more like, okay, and question 1 is this and question 2 is that. And I really struggled to kind of build a bit of a bouncing off because I like to also a lot of times it's just more, I kind of know what everyone is going to say. Like if I'm like, what are your main challenges? Most people are going to say the same thing, but it's more looking at what has that person said that is actually quite interesting because I've not heard it coming from that angle or... Yeah, I mean, actually, like recently in an event I was working on, I came into these calls thinking, okay, I think this is going to happen and everyone's going to be excited because the government's behind this kind of movement happening.
Yeah.
Instead, what I found is every call, I don't know if I caught people in a ranting mode. It felt like I was everyone's therapist. Full on, anytime I asked a question, what are the key challenges? I was just getting... like people just telling me everything, getting it all off their chest. And actually, that was interesting for me because they were all saying the same challenge, but coming from different angles and things. And I was noticing like, okay, there's actually a lot of frustration happening in the sector.
It's that emotionality though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you see what topics people are going to be most passionate about to see or attend or maybe even speak at.
Exactly. When I had been like, okay, let's not go off the branches and talk about this because I have 4 more questions I need to ask you.
Yeah.
You kind of lose it a bit. So that's, I personally found I don't thrive in a call if it's like super structured.
Yeah. And then So my approach especially if I'm working in a new industry, I do generally keep a set of questions. And I think this will be useful for like junior producers as well when you're starting out and you're still developing those research call skills. Having like a set kind of list of questions, because then you're comparing as well across your like database that you collected, haven't you?
Yeah.
But I cover things like challenges. So what are your key challenges? What are the key themes that you're seeing in the industry at the moment? Interesting technology, maybe any particular vendors that they're interested in or suppliers they'd be interested in meeting at an event. That's great for our commercial team. Big voices always. What speakers do they want to see? You know, is there anyone that, whether it's an industry person or like a motivational speaker? But some of my favorite question that I like to ask, because it always gets a really funny reaction from everyone, is what do you not want to hear about? Because there's usually always a competitive landscape in these, and there's always competitor events, and two things on that is topic and also speakers. And you've got speakers that are making the rounds and they're going to all the events and they're saying the same things, and people are fed up of it.
Yeah.
I can think in the events industry of at least half a dozen sessions that they are the same conversation that happens every single year and it doesn't move on.
Yeah.
And I am so sick of seeing it on the program and that it's getting, airtime.
Yeah.
Like, why move the conversation on more and give it a bit more depth, or retire the topic? But the other one about when asking what topics do you not want to hear about, you get the same like physical reaction from everyone, and they go, or like,
I'm over AI and things
laugh.
like that. Yeah.
AI does actually come up a lot. And I think there's a lot of fatigue around that. I think it's because there's no real takeaways. But I think in this last year, AI has transformed dramatically in the way that we use it day to day. So I think that conversation is changing. And as producers, we need to keep up with that.
Yeah.
Especially specifically in industries. But yeah, I find a set of questions helps, especially if you're entering a new sector or if you're new to the role. Also, if you just want to keep that baseline of like evidence that you're collecting and like information.
On that note, though, I would say if you're going to have a set amount of questions that you're going to ask, my suggestion is always tell them in advance.
Yes. Send it out.
Send it out. Put it in if you put the calendar invite, put the questions in there, because the amount of, it's not guaranteed that all of them are going to prep, right, for your meeting, but the amount of times I've asked, who would you like to hear from?
I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not sure. Let me think about it, and it'll email you. Very rarely do they email you with those speakers. So I think if you are set on kind of asking for definite some questions, always kind of let them know in advance that that's what you're going to ask them.
Yeah. Before we wrap this up, I think there's another part of research to cover, which is how you can move research calls into speakers. And not every research call is a speaker. Especially like those things you were saying about how you speak to delegates. Delegates aren't always speakers. Not everyone is always a speaker. But let's say you're on a research call and they maybe have spoken at events. They're kind of on maybe a wish list, or like they're like a key profile. You're on the call, they sound great, and you're like, right, I want to move you onto the speaker recruitment process. Yeah. Is there anything that you do in particular there?
To be honest, I force people to be like, can you open your calendar and see what you're doing on the 27th of November? And then they tend to laugh, but then it does actually, sometimes people are like, oh, I'm on holiday, or like whatever it is. But I would be like, be bold. Ask them literally on the call. If you already know for sure, you can say like, I've not written the agenda yet, but like, I know there's going to be plenty of topics where you're, suited to speak. Like, let's stay in touch. And once the agenda, like I have a draft program, I'll send it to you, get your like feedback and let me know which session you want to speak on. But be bold and at the time, just let them know exactly.
Yeah. I think that is literally it. Like you said, be bold, ask them. If you're not quite sure and you think they'd be good, not sure if you want to include the topic yet, like what I do is I typically say, like, do you speak at events? Would you be interested? Not rather than going, I want you to speak at the event. You can tell that, and usually you can say that. I'd say, would you like to? Let me send you the draft agenda. Yeah. Let's see if anything fits, and kind of like lukewarm kind of lead on that. Yeah. So that's typically what I do. So just in case something changes, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like that awkward, I don't have any space for you, hun, sorry. But yeah, hopefully, I think a few people, I used to find that at January is when I started a new production process. So hopefully people listen to this, get some new ideas.
Get excited. I love actually research. I find it's relaxing, to be honest. I don't know.
It's nice. It's the beginning of the process, isn't
Yeah.
it? It sets that good foundation for an agenda and then speaker recruitment. So yeah, well, happy researching, guys.
Enjoy it.
And let us know let us know if there's anything you'd like to see on Speak Easy in the future. Drop us a note on Instagram or LinkedIn, and we'll see you next time.
See you soon.